This is the story of 4 friends who lived together in peace and harmony.
I'm Steve Wilson. I'm the trombone professor and the department chair at the University of Texas at El Paso. And for me, this project came about because I had a little bit of funding that I could use to do a creative project. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Mark Rabideau. He suggested that I contact Bruce, that he would be the perfect composer to make that project happen. So Mark was really the catalyst that brought Bruce, Mike, and I together.
I just want to hear a little bit of balance.
I knew that Mike was with the Silkroad Ensemble and they did world music, but I wasn't aware that they've had done anything with the music of Bhutan, and I don't think they have. And it is on the Silkroad.
All right, good. And when I do this is, if I let that ring.
I went to Bhutan along with my wife, who's the director of choral activities at UTEP, and we presented the first Western opera ever in that country. What's cool about Bhutan, where the story originates from, is that they're one of the only countries, if not the only one, that it tries to measure gross national happiness is one of their core missions as a country.
Happiness is 2 kinds of ice cream. You know that show?
I was actually looking around my office. He was asking about Bhutan, and I saw a poster of the 4 Harmonious friends, and I started talking to him about that story, and we quickly latched onto it, and it was perfect for the instrumentation.
Okay, let me just check this out. Who's this? Can you remember who this is? Who's this? Monkey. And so, very clear to me is rabbit. Good. Okay. Yes, right, exactly. Right. And then this one right here is clear as can be. The elephant. And then the most difficult one of all to sustain is this one, although not that difficult. Okay, good. So if you have the bass trombone, and we knew we had Mike right away, so I wanted to balance that with something treble. So I latched onto Kaoru. And then percussion seemed absolutely necessary, and we knew there'd be a keyboard if I were going to be in it. And what's amazing is then you look at that story, and there's a bird, flute, and there's an elephant, bass trombone, and there's a monkey, which, I mean, the cello could have been anything, really. And the drums, actually, I thought for a long time, rabbits don't make any sound. And then I thought, well, that's perfect. They don't make pitch. Yeah. So he's like a rabbit sound. And I mean, who could have imagined that the story would come second? And that's really what happened. So that's solo, yeah. You're looking at what you might do there. However you want to get that Rick in there.
A lot of times what I do is very groove-oriented. Mm-hmm. Should I not do that?
I think if you do that, well, for the solo, you mean?
Yeah.
I think if you do that and then interrupt it and change into something else, so it's both grooves, but it's shifting. That's right. That could capture it.
Right. Okay.
Groove humor.
Right. Groove humor.
Look it up in the Grooves Dictionary of Music.
Oh.
It's also perfect for the rabbit because all the nervous energy and the different,
You can change characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used a straight mute today, so that was a different one from yesterday.
Yeah. Well, after we do this, I want to try a few things. I like what's happening there a lot, all the stuff you're doing.
How the instruments relate to each other, and to me, that's the evolution of the story, is how we each start very separate in our own worlds and in our own heads and egos about the way we're playing. But then by the end, we end up playing in a more harmonious fashion.
I know what you mean. Like sometimes you hear everything, and sometimes you just oh, you have plenty of time.
Okay, great.
Had the wonderful idea that together they could reach the bottom of the tree to the very top if they stood on each other's backs, with the elephant on the bottom, the monkey on the elephant's back, and the rabbit on the monkey's the bird, who the fighting the top of the tree, they wanted the happily bird, the rabbit, the bunch. Good. And the stopping was good too. It's like. Just that repeated note in the Bhutanese music, I think I spent 2 days just thinking about that and what to do with it and improvising around it and playing with it until I suddenly thought, okay, I'm just going to start with it right away and start to layer on top of it. And I had a lot of fun with it.
I was wondering if it's okay if we tried to just run it?
Yeah. it's really a great way to grow and learn, you know, and it's sort of what we do anyway. We appropriate and we internalize, and then when it becomes completely internal, we pretend it's who we are.
Once Bruce decided on, the players and the cultures that we were going to be able to bring to the table, in combination with his modern classical aesthetic, I think we actually sort of let him just kind of go into the composing studio for a few months, and he kind of came out with this piece, and that's sort of where we met him again at the beginning of the rehearsal process.
Possible. All right. Let's just start at the beginning, even if they're very short, and then we'll get into some rehearsing eventually. So the first thing, I will say this. We are going to divide up narration probably, right? If you want to. You say what we'll see. I mean, if you don't feel like saying something, we'll play with that later. I'm happy to do it, but if you want to, yeah. Okay. Okay, actually, that should come first.
Well, we already totally screwed this up. Yeah.
I quit. Right. Okay. This is the story of 4 friends who lived together in peace and harmony. Okay, so that first phrase is his. And you guys be quiet, and he's...
Yeah. Okay, I was trying to catch it.
Yeah, actually, you know what happens when you stay on it a little bit and then it comes into focus. So maybe let's put a fermata there and let it become a beautiful chord. So that it sounds like we're moving towards that peace and harmony. Shall we try that again?
Sure. It ultimately is about understanding and empathy and compassion, and stepping away from greed, stepping away from ownership.
Yeah, that sounds good. But the story begins before they were friends, when they argued and argued. Yeah, that's the idea. But we can get very aggressive. Get up. It all began one day when what I might do is you do that, and I'll just make it look like, oh, wow, they're mad. So it'll be crazy.
We are literally embodying characters, and so we're not really thinking of like musical roles that are kind of abstracted from the story. We're really just interacting as personalities.
There was a crash of thunder, as you just heard. Okay, and then that goes on. Good, that'll be fine. But the story basically is an elephant and a monkey and a rabbit and a bird each claim that the tree that they all see is their own tree. Okay, then talk, and then there's their first one was to arrive was an enormous elephant. Then a monkey showed up. Next, a nervous rabbit appeared.
The first rehearsal was just about getting the ensemble together rhythmically, just making sure that we're all lining up.
The last to arrive was a brightly colored bird.
One of the challenges that we had early on was getting the balance just right, and it was almost impossible to do in our first rehearsal because we were in a very small practice room, and it wasn't relevant to the actual performance space.
Let's just start it again. You probably can't hear anything.
Yeah, right.
Let's just try it again. Then they heard some strange harmony that seemed to be coming from the wondrous tree. So I have a very long piano solo here, which I'll just do the end of now. I recognize it because it looks exactly the same as when I first came upon it. He paced about in front of the tree saying, "It is mine. I saw it before any of you. Leave this tree to me."
In the musical markings in the piece, a lot of times you'll just see, you know, like forte or marcato or whatever, or crescendo, diminuendo. But in this music, it says excited or triumphantly, or, you know, there's emotional words in above each section. And so I try to play those sections with that thought in mind.
Now, in that section, you're supposed to just go insane.
Yeah.
So you can free yourself up there in some insane way. Like, and the thing, you know, don't make it feel like somebody wrote that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I can't tell how that's sounding, because did it seem like we're okay together? But then the monkeys started the conversation. When I first saw the tree, I don't know why that's his voice. Maybe, what an excellent, wonderful tree, or what an excellent, wonderful tree it is, he declared. And on this obvious fact, they all agreed. It was smaller than it is now, and that means I saw it first. As the monkey spoke, he jumped high and brushed some of the tree's leaves, and he also danced on the tree's large roots that stuck out of the ground. And the quick rabbit was always at the monkey's side. So this is the same kind of, let's see. Did you try it like, do you have a tempo for that?
I have the MIDI tempo in my head.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The lines that Bruce wrote for the monkey often had kind of an introspective thoughtfulness about them. And actually I felt it often contrasted with the narrated story and even the voice that Bruce chose for the monkey. But I actually really liked the balance, because I felt like Bruce was narrating the monkey's outward actions, and then I felt like I was immediately following that with kind of an exploration of the monkey's inward thoughts and feelings. And I thought there was a lot of subtlety in the music that Bruce wrote for the monkey, and I kind of saw it kind of as an external versus internal kind of exploration of the monkey's character.
Yeah, that sounds like a monkey making an argument. Okay. How much of that do you want to do again?
I'm happy to do the whole thing.
Let's do it. When I first saw the tree, it was a mere sapling. It was a tiny, thin, young tree with hardly any branches. So I guess I saw it before even you, Mr. Monkey, and that means it is my tree. I wrote out a percussion part, and I made it clear that this part should be played as is only if you don't want to improvise. But if you're an improviser, then you don't have to do this. Bring your, talents to it and your imagination. But beyond that, I didn't even specify what instruments to bring. It says play it on any drums you like, and as many as you want. So at the first rehearsal, Shane was playing exactly what I wrote on one drum. And I thought, okay, that was great. And then I said, I was thinking of you in particular.
I had a question for you though, Bruce. Since it is sort of instrument character, should I not change instruments, or is it okay if I change? Because
You can do what you want to experiment with something, or?
Yeah, well, I had
please.
started to change and go to play some frame drum in
please.
one of the sections, the 11/16 section.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not the one who gets stomped on, right? I'm the one who flies on.
The rabbit.
Flitters almost gets
gets
stomped on. Yeah.
I probably should need to write his part in here.
Yeah, then we can take a moment for a cue. Did I not give you any cues in the part, or?
No, not in this section. Some spots you just have not here.
It's okay, we're going to be harmonious about this.
Yeah.
It became immediately clear in the first rehearsal, like, oh, right, I'm not responsible for the whole story. I'm just the monkey. And so suddenly I was trying to figure out, well, how can I make sure that I'm playing differently than Steve is representing the elephant? And so I started to, just see my part much more in context and see how I can contribute to the story without necessarily telling all of it.
If possible, if the low G is longer, and then this afterthought is like it's over, and then wah, like a little crazy thing. Yeah. Okay, why don't we start it again?
So this will speak a lot better. More pop to it.
Okay.
More elephantish.
Yeah, it's very elephantine. No two players even use their mutes the same way.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why they call it a lick when you play a little.
Yeah, right.
You can't in a score do any more than say use this mute and try to be funny. Well, I think I could go like that. How's that for a cue?
Looks like there's a gong on the downbeat.
Yeah, there is a gong. Actually, you do it. That's right. Thank you for noticing that. You stop them when you can't take it anymore. Okay.
But that's a better sound, huh?
I think it might be, yes.
Yeah.
Having the cello, away from me like this, I don't have a perfect sense of that. Maybe I should go over there just to hear this.
Sure, I can face towards you just as we're playing too.
All right. Not a bad idea. Suddenly, Mr. Monkey began to chase the rabbit around and around the tree. The elephant laughed at the sight of them, going nowhere fast. This is a trio, and you start. So,
I started.
yeah. Now you've been doing it like. Was your tempo like? I can't see it. Something like that. How to create a piece around such a profound but thin story. In other words, it's thin meaning it's so short. Like you can tell the story in 2 sentences if you want to. So what I did is I thought of it musically. If I want to have a solo for each instrument, then they each have to explain why they feel the tree is theirs. And then I felt, well, the elephant has to parade around the tree with the monkey chasing him or the rabbit chasing him, or they have to be laughing. The elephant has to laugh at the monkey. Because if I don't explain some interaction, I can't have any duets or trios. So until the end. So I structured it so that they each have a solo and they each start to interact, and then it builds until the final moment.
And as we progressed, not only did the rhythms get tighter and the balance get better, but we really interacted quite a bit with each other. And that's what I really love playing with those other guys. There's a moment where Mike's got this really active monkey part and I have a much slower elephant part, but it fits in together, and we just kind of moved towards each other at one point, and Bruce caught it and he said, "Oh, you guys should do that all the time. That's perfect." So now it's just part of the choreography of the piece, and it just kind of happened.
Clearly, the tree would not even be here if it were not for me.
So we coming together.
Yeah. Well, you play the downbeat and I accompany us.
Okay. So we went back and forth, not a lot, but just a few times about, he would send little, melodic fragments that he had written. Is this doable? Is this possible? It's called a shinobue, the flutes that I played. The shinobue, I think one of the powerful and something that makes the flute so evocative is that it's not created to have an even sound throughout, like a Western flute is, for example.
How's this feeling on this shinobue? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's tricky, but it's...
Yeah, but if there's something that really doesn't work, let me know and we'll play around with it. So let's try this one again.
In musical terms, having accidentals, my bamboo flutes are not really built for that. So the scales that we use are much more simple. And so to switch within one line, within one measure, between different keys is actually very challenging. And so I'm having to kind of create new techniques.
They no longer felt like arguing. The elephant, now this story seems so important now. It didn't seem like that last year, but anyway. They no longer felt like arguing. The elephant and the donkey. No, or the rest of the world. The elephant, should we change donkey and monkey? No, we better not.
I'm happy to be a donkey.
Yeah, nobody would know.
Donkey.
Yeah, right. The elephant, monkey, rabbit, and bird became friends. The monkey suggested that they share the tree. The elephant, rabbit, and bird agreed, although the elephant called it communism. No, okay. The business of them standing on each other's back is a simple musical moment, and I really spent quite some time thinking about how elaborate does that need to be to make the point, and I decided not much because it's too obvious. So the trombone makes a statement as the elephant, and then the monkey makes it. They each pile on top of each other, and then it goes into something more florid as it explains what that's about, and then they have their finale. But it is a very musical image when you think about it. It's like if you think of the animals, you've got the foundation bass line, and you have middle voices and harmony, and a kind of florid high-end soprano. I mean, it's a perfect structure for music, too. The elephant had the wonderful idea that together they could reach from the bottom of the tree to the very top if they stood on each other's backs, with the elephant on bottom, the monkey on the elephant's back, the rabbit on the monkey's, and the bird, who could fly up to the top of the tree if she wanted, happily perched on the rabbit in the spirit of friendship. The bird does not need to stand on anything to reach the top of the tree, because it flies. And so, you know, the bird doing that, though, could be symbolic of, let's say, the United States, or a major power that doesn't need other countries, or that doesn't need to stand on the shoulders of anybody, but still cooperates, and cooperates because it's a spirit of friendship and it's meaningful. So I love that bird thing. That's why I put in that little phrase, the bird who could just fly to the top, but decides to stay there in friendship. The music of these four friends resounded joyfully throughout the world. Yeah, he goes duck 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 duck. So you have even more notes than I do.
Playing with musicians from other backgrounds is there's no predefined role for how a cello is supposed to interact with a shinobue. And so I think my favorite part is that none of us are able to kind of fall into like a typical role that anybody could play, and we're really forced to be ourselves.
In sharing it, they do something that is wonderful for children to learn about, and by children I mean grown-ups. Because it's really something that grown-ups say, share, share, share. And then the reason they're not sharing sometimes is that they don't see any grown-ups sharing, and they see that the world is full of people who are arguing for every piece of territory. And so a story like this, as simple and childlike as it seems, actually is very profound. Not bad. Yeah, it's coming together really well. Yeah, that last thing, I mean, we have that gong, so we can take a little more time. Yeah. All right, great rehearsal, guys. That was amazing. We're in good shape. So do you want to keep all your music? And so that concert, it's the same thing. You each do something, you play together however you want, you organize that. And then we do this. Great. So in that case, I would think of filling, I'm not sure how long this is.
Sort of approach the performance immediately from a different mindset than the rehearsals, because in the rehearsals, you know, we've heard these lines a few times, and so we're always knowing what's coming next. And to suddenly be in a room with 100 people who are reacting in real time, I think immediately changed the way we played. We were capturing that freshness of telling the story for the first time in a way that I didn't feel in the rehearsals as clearly.
The bird in the story is kind of the character who provides wisdom and brings everyone together at the end after a lot of fighting. How difficult some of the music was for me in the rehearsal process was just struggling, okay, just playing it right. And then I realized right before the concert, I think as I was practicing, trying to finalize my preparation, I went back to that idea. It's like, okay, I'm actually not, this shouldn't be a struggle, and it definitely shouldn't sound like a struggle. It should be about, I should try to sound wise and sound more in control, even though I'm flitting about. It's like I don't necessarily want everyone just to be happy or everyone to be sad or to be. It's a wide range of things, and I think that's what the humanity of what we're dealing with is, right? Just life, express life, you know.